Greetings, everyone. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Hope you're enjoying your day wherever you are, morning, noon, or evening. Hope you're taking the time to spend a few moments of relaxation, looking at sunset or sunrise, just enjoying the surroundings. I know some places now covered in snow and freezing, but make yourself some cream of wheat, sit on the floor, put a blanket on the floor, sit on the floor and listen to some music. Talk to the kids that are not in school or family not going to work because of the snow. Get everybody around and relax. The world is getting to a stage where frustration and anguish is going to be prevalent. You're going to meet it everywhere because people are not normally prepared for stuff like this. They run to the TV for relief, and that's why you see social media has become such a prolific instrument. It wasn't by accident that this social media was built or was brought out. It's not accidental. But anyway, I'm moving off the subject of the video today. Some of you are familiar with the story about my land in the Gambia. I kind of I put my experience there with what happened, some of the things that happened, so that people will, I'm giving the information to people who are planning on having a farm or something to do with land. Even if you're building a house with a garden, you got 50 by 50 and you put a 10 by 10 meter house on it, you still have a nice piece of land that you can plant some trees and so forth. And Gambia is a place where everybody put a wall around their homes. And unless, if you talk to the average Gambian, they cannot live without that wall. I've experienced it where they come to the U.S. I've seen Gambians come to the U.S. and were afraid to fall asleep because they always felt somebody was going to break in the house. It took years and years for them to kind of get over this because they grew up in this imprisoned, I mean, that's the only way you can put it, prison walls around your house. You got some homes don't even have walking space around between the wall and the house. Some homes the wall is part of the house. So you come in there with a piece of land, putting a wall around your house and imprison yourself. Me, I don't want to do that with my land, so I put up a fence. But anyway, you know the story about that. But this one, the story I want to tell you is not about the goats in Gambia invading my land. It's about a person. This person is living in Gambia. He came back from the U.S. because you see Gambia was at the forefront of this movement of diasporas moving back to Africa. in the present era. There always been people moving back. I mean, I know family members who moved to Ethiopia, you know, and Jamaica has got a huge community. You can find them all over. When I first came to Ghana or Gambia, it was Jamaican. I met one Trinidadian. Anyway, you're always moving back. It's not new. The young generation now are beginning to take up the banner from the older generation. Anyway, this guy, he was born in Ghana, and he moved out of the country. And then, you hear this plea to come home, build a business, come home, help build, come home, come home, come home. And so he decided he wanted to come back. And I always watch YouTube information about farming, because in a way, African farming is different to the West, America especially. So I kind of watch what happens and see the practices especially. And you heard my opinion on some of the practices too. Some need to change. I'm not saying embrace the fertilizer, 10 pounds of fertilizer to every square foot of land. That's poisoning your land. But we have to change our practices, especially when it deals with irrigation and so forth. And burning, Gambia burning the bush, exposing the earth so it can walk, the wind can blow away your soil. I harp on that, man. Okay, one of the channels that I watch is called Farming in Africa. This channel kind of gives information on farming practices actually, in Ghana especially, but throughout Africa. And through that channel, I became familiar with another one called Semanhaya Farm. SEMANHYIA Farms. And this guy, whose name is Fred, came back to Ghana, to his city, area where he was born, in Barakum, Ghana. And he started a goat farm. And what he said he's doing is kind of like trying to educate mostly Ghanaians, but people from all over the West and some from the East come to his farm to study how to raise goats, because he's very successful at doing it. And not only he's raising them, but he's only teaching, but he's learning also himself. But because there's several different kinds of goats in Africa, and he's bringing different types of goats to Ghana, experimenting with them, showing people how to grow them, not only in Ghana, but showing people on the internet throughout Africa how to go about, what he uses and how successful it is, or if it's not so successful, and if it's successful. Like I said, one of the guy's name is Fred, and he answered this call, come back and build a business. He invested over a 5-year period. He says he invested $5 million. Before, well, he knew about, in every African society there are these taboos about everything. You heard me talk about the taboo of slaves. If your family has ever been enslaved, say your four parents, 3 generations ago, your great 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 granddad was a slave. You cannot be a installed king or chief in Ghana. this oh well, I'm not gonna go into these things. But anyway, these taboos that they have, some of them are good, but there's some that were created to keep certain people in power. The same, to keep them the kingship in their family and the chiefship in their family circle. They want to have power, and that power led them to capture. They fight one tribe against the other, enslaving one, and end up with millions of us being transported across the Atlantic, or across Africa into Asia and Arabia and everywhere. Even still doing it now. Africans being sold in Lebanon. I mean, there's an Apple app for it. Can you imagine that? These customs, I mean, it's serious issue. Anyway, he said growing up, he know about these taboos. But everybody, like, there's a taboo against dogs, a taboo against goats, but everybody's got goats and dogs. So he came back, bought some land outside the city, but within the area of the Barracoon. 5 years after he invested $5 million in building this farm, the people in charge of the land, the people, even though you own the land, the tribe had a custodian, a land custodian, that the government recognized that these people have huge amount of control over what goes on. And they come up and says, look, no goats are allowed in this community. There's a taboo against it. And they pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. And finally, they gave him like 2 weeks to say. He went through all the process of appealing, even to the government now, the Ghanaian government, who did nothing. So he ended up selling all his stock. But the land is still there with all these structures that he built on. And I'm waiting to see what happens to all these structures and the land if the people who pushed him out move in and take over, because that's what their intention was. That's why I'm continue to watch this thing. But why I'm making a video is to warn the people of the diaspora who hearing these pleas to come home and build are answering the call. A lot of us are African born or direct descendants, like the first generation born outside Africa. And they're saying, you know what, I'm tired of the West. This thing is too much for me. I'm going home. So they come back with the intention of building. You have to study events like what happened to Fred very carefully. Land is a very sticky issue here. Even though you have a country that, you know, it's got one huge city in it, and then the rest of the land throughout the country is just empty. You go buy a piece of that land that you think is empty, and then suddenly somebody show up and says, My family has owned this land for generations, and I didn't get any money for. I want my, you know, my money for the land. What do you do then? Because you, even if you went through all the legal steps, this person can still take you to court, exhaust your funds that you wanted to build your house or create a business on. So you gotta look at these things very, very carefully. Get somebody who will. Well, it's very difficult to find somebody who is totally honest here. I'm serious. In Africa, you'll find somebody who will look after your interests if you paying them. They're honest with you. They will tell you, hey, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. I have a lawyer in Gambia who will tell me that. He tells me up front, you're creating a problem for yourself, don't do it. You know, but he's got to protect himself. If the Ghanaian government comes after me, he got to step back and say, Ben, look, this is this is very difficult for me, you know, and so because that's his job in Ghana. They can take away his ability to make money. I can't support him, so he's got to let me go. So that's why I told you about this. Anyway, you as a expat coming home, you have to look into these things carefully. You have to. I'm telling you, it's warning. It's like, look at immigration. Look at the world around you. You know, are you going to be driving down the road every day through a checkpoint, and every day they're going to demand money from you? You know, are you going to be going into a government office and the employees going to be demanding a bribe to get what you want done? You come to the airport, and before they stamp your papers, you know, they want money. You import your goods, and the customs agent hold your goods or your furniture or whatever your car or whatever you import until you pay a bribe. You gotta look at all these things. Have to look. Well, I can't say you have to, but it is necessary for you to look at all these things. When you come to Africa with the mindset that you're going to return, invest in honest and trustworthy, your best, that the people you invest or live around going to be honest and trustworthy, with your best interests at heart, you live in the fantasy world. Don't even come. Serious. Don't even come, because they will strip you of everything and celebrate. You'll be going back to America complaining, angry, upset. And they just did what, you know, they planned to do. There are many of us who have returned to Africa and succeeded in accomplishing what we planned. However, the task is never easy. Some will lose a few thousand, some will lose a few hundred, some will lose everything. You know, you lose your cell phone, cash, your computer, you're lucky. You can lose millions in African money. Very seldom will you get a case where you get reparations or refunds for anything you lose. You know, very few times will the person who did the act be prosecuted. And I've come across, I know the reasons why. I know the reasons why. I will have to tell you personally because just know that they won't be prosecuted. And a lot of the time, they know somebody who keep them from being prosecuted. And you won't get your goods or property back. I always pray that we can integrate back into Africa and enjoy not only benefiting from our move, but the people around us benefiting from what we are doing in the community and in the society at large in Africa. That's my wish. Serious. I pray for that every day. But from what I'm seeing, I think we might have to start building our own communities, which is not a very good thing because what you're doing is coming to Africa and building what is already here. You got wealthy people with all these poor people around them who some can't even afford a house. You know, you see the homes are built with whatever kind of materials can be gotten. Old corrugate that has holes in it, with a mother and 5 children. You know, she married when she was young, and well, that's part of the culture too, you know. Anyway, she ended up with no husband. Husband moved on, married another woman. She got kids. Husband don't take care of kids. So either she's had to sell, buy and sell, or beg, borrow, steal. You know. So that's the way Africa's set up right now, and I would hate to see us come here and kind of build a community like that also. The destitution is bad, and these are things you got to look at before you come. Always look for these things. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to give you some information so you know how to create and change things. You're not going to change it overnight. I'm telling you now. You might be here for 15 years and you may make just slight changes. Things in Africa do not change drastically. Serious. Because of those taboos and customs. It's not just the poor people who watch you to see what they can take from you. Serious. It's those who have. Because the poor are always trying to find support for themselves. They might sell cigarettes, you know. But the guy who has a house and a car and a job, he has the time now to watch you. Why? This foreigner lives next door to me, and he's got things that I want. He's got money. He came from America. And the foreigner, when I say a foreigner, Black American, it could be his fellow countrymen, his fellow Gambian, Ghanaian, whose parents went abroad. He could have been born there and went abroad for 20 years and came back. They see you as a target, somebody who they can take from, whatever they want. And most of them will not stop until they get it, by all means necessary. So prepare yourself. You know, I can tell you a story. When I was growing up, I heard America, the streets are paved with gold. when I got to America, it's like, shoot, I've never found a piece of gold on the street in America. Same thing you hear about Africa now. They got YouTubers preaching the greatness of Africa. You gotta come, you gotta come, you gotta come. You got YouTubers with 500,000 subs saying, hey, this guy came back from America and built this huge, look at that, look at that. You know, for every one of those people who did that, accomplished that, how many have lost everything? That's what you have to look at. The streets of Africa are not paved with gold. As a matter of fact, you might buy some land in Africa, don't even have a street on it. You gotta build that road, and it's not paved. And then on the way to your house every day, you gotta stop at a checkpoint and pay to get to and from your house. You wake up in the morning and leave, there's somebody at the checkpoint. You come back home, there's somebody at the checkpoint. The road that you built down. So, you know, they showed you a fantasy world in Africa. And if you go with it, you're going to lose. There are a few YouTubers that will tell you this is the way it is, and will show you what they do, how they do it. But of course, a lot of people don't watch those people because they're not entertaining in the manner that they want entertainment. You know, I don't want to see somebody working hard to get what they want. I want to see the easy life. Okay, come. Once again, let me tell you, study the story of Semenhaya. And look at Fred's videos. Not only look at Fred's videos, but look at all the videos of the things that you want to do in Africa. Look at people who are doing them, and if they give you a good story of how they do it, including the obstacles. And if they don't have more obstacles, if 75% of their content is not showing you the obstacles and how they work with it in detail. Oh no, I went down to this office today and got my paperwork. You don't do it like that in Africa. I can tell you, you go from this office to that office, and every office that you walk into, there's somebody with a hand open expecting you to pay them to do what they're already getting paid to do. Study all these things. There are many stories like this in Africa. In Ghana, I mean, Semenhaya is one of 1,000. Gambia, one of 1,000. Kenya, one of 1,000. Tanzania, Senegal, Liberia, Sierra Leone, everywhere. There are stories like that. So wherever you decide to go, study the stories. Prepare yourself. You're gonna need it. All right, peace.